Hello, Pokemon trainers, and welcome back to another Pokemon Sun and Moon Battle Spot Singles post-commentary match. So, I already had this battle, it already took place, it was an excellent battle, just like all the ones that I'm going to be showing you that are not live. The reason that I'm showing you them is because I had them off screen, and they were just really good battles that I felt like sharing. So, today we have an interesting team. My opponent has very strong Pokemon. As you can see, they brought an Alolan Ninetales, which usually sets up Aurora Veil, which buffs the defenses of their teammates, which is very, very good. And then they brought Mega Salamence, which of course is just a humongous threat. Xurkitree can be a threat in the right circumstances. Overall, it's not particularly amazing, but there are opportunities where it can be insane. I'm using the same team I've been using with my Sash Salazzle and Choice Specs Tapu Koko, alongside this Mimikyu that is a Swords Dance set. It's pretty standard with a Fairium Z, the Fairy Z crystal. So we'll just get into the battle now. As you'll notice that this one also has very nice quality, and it's taking place in a classroom. That's a lot of fun. So I did say that I would try to put two of these battles together because they are really short. I mean, it's only 3 versus 3, but this is still a single battle because this one actually took quite a long time. As you'll notice, this one is many turns. I lead with my Choice Specs Tapu Koko. I felt like it had a good matchup against most of my opponent's team. They did also have a Garchomp on their team, which of course they didn't bring. That was the one thing I was afraid of. Everything else on their team did not want to take a Choice Specs Thunderbolt in the electric terrain. They lead with Ninetales, and I'm actually going to make the play here initially to actually go for the U-turn. I just thought, once again, because they had Garchomp on their team, I was thinking they could totally just go into Garchomp right now, predicting an electric type move, and I would just be blown away. Like, I would be stuck, and that would be very bad momentum for me. So I decided to just go for the U-turn, go into my Salazzle. Even though my opponent has Hail up, and the Hail will break my Salazzle Sash, I really just felt like it was the best option for me. And unfortunately, my opponent goes for the Icy Wind, which is going to lower my speed. Salazzle is naturally faster than Ninetales, so I was looking for this to be an opportunity for Salazzle to kill Ninetales by going for a powerful Poison or Fire type move. Luckily for me, I did go for the Sludge Wave though, figuring that it would hit most things on my opponent's team really hard. I could have gone for the Overheat, which also would have done a lot of damage, super effective damage to the Ninetales, but luckily I did not go for Overheat. And I'll be honest, I didn't think of Salamence when I went for the Sludge Wave. If I had gone for Overheat, Salamence would have resisted that, and I would have just been in a very bad position here. So I'm actually at this point going to leave my Salazzle in because I do have Hidden Power Ice, even though I'm slower now because of that unfortunate Icy Wind. I just thought, if my Salazzle dies, then so be it. I don't really absolutely need it. I mean, it's good against Ninetales, but I have a couple other Pokemon that can take on Ninetales anyway, so it doesn't really matter. My opponent actually does go for Roost, so it's a good thing I did not switch out, because had I switched out while they went for Roost, they would have been in an excellent position because they would have a Salamence at full health with whatever it wanted to do. I go for the Hidden Power Ice. Excuse me. You'll notice it doesn't do all that much. Mega Salamence is very bulky, but also when they go for Roost, it removes the flying typing. So I'm only hitting them for 2 times super effective damage rather than 4 times because they're essentially no longer a flying type after going for Roost. That's actually going to be very important later on in this battle. My opponent finishes me off with the return. They are going to take some hail damage, which is important. It's definitely worth noting there. And I went into Mimikyu because I know 2 of my opponent's 3 Pokemon now, and I figured that I could just kind of go for the big kind of nuke button and hopefully kill something. I could kill Salamence or Ninetales or probably whatever my opponent sends in with the Twinkle Tackle, which is of course what I'm going for right here. And unfortunately for me, my opponent did switch out. I mean, it's not really unfortunate because I know that Twinkle Tackle will kill Xurkitree unless Xurkitree is Sash, but I figured if it's Sash, then it's just going to die to Hail, or I do have Shadow Sneak as well, so it's not going to be that much of a threat. I think they went into Xurkitree just to sack it, unless they predicted me to go for the Swords Dance. I expected them to expect that, so I didn't want to go for the Swords Dance because that could have put me in a bad position if my opponent made a better prediction, and so that favored me. By going for just the move, just going for the kill, I guess. So they're going back into Ninetales, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. I can just kind of start damaging the Ninetales, hopefully kill it quickly, and I still have my disguise intact. Unfortunately, though, my opponent does go for Aurora Veil, which, once again, will boost the defenses of their team. and so this play rough is not going to be doing anything at all. Mimikyu is really not that strong unless you have like a Swords Dance up. It's a great Pokemon because of Disguise, but it doesn't hit that hard unless you boost it. If you don't boost it, as you can see right there, it just really doesn't do much of anything. My opponent's going to go for the Icy Wind just to lower my speed and to break my Disguise. It doesn't really matter that they're lowering my speed though, because Mimikyu is going to be slower than Ninetales and Salamence anyway, and I do have Shadow Sneak, which will always hit first regardless. Here, I awkwardly decide to go for Swords Dance. I felt like it made a little more sense. I don't want to switch in my Tapu Koko because it can die to Ninetales, and so at this point, I'm kind of just doing whatever I can with Mimikyu before Mimikyu dies. Things were not looking good for me here though, especially once my opponent reveals that they have Encore and they're going to lock me right into that Swords Dance. That was a great play on my opponent's part. And at this point, I mean, I just have to keep going for Swords Dance. Again, I do not want to go into Tapu Koko because I don't want Tapu Koko to take any more damage than it needs to. Tapu Koko is really my win right at this point, and I recognize that. Tapu Koko can beat Ninetales one-on-one, and it should be able to beat Salamence one-on-one, but given that my opponent has Aurora Veil, I was a little less certain about that. So this is a rough position for me to be in, and I'm taking hail damage each turn. At this point, Mimikyu is essentially dead anyway, because at any moment my opponent can just kill me with Blizzard, which they do here. So that is going to finish off Mimikyu, and it means that I have my Tapu Koko against my opponent's last two Pokemon. This is kind of a theme with this team. I have one Pokemon left, kind of like the last battle that I uploaded. One Pokemon left against my opponent's, like, the rest of their team pretty much, which is obviously an unfavorable position to go into. So here I was like, if I go for Dazzling Gleam, it probably will not kill Ninetales, but Dazzling Gleam might kill Salamence. Unfortunately, though, I need to kill Ninetales here. I need to make a kill. And so they have Aurora Veil up. I figured I'd still kill it, and I do with the Choice Specs Modest Thunderbolt. And here, this is a crazy part. So I'm going to go for the Thunderbolt on the Salamence, hoping for either a kill or a paralysis. And I get neither. And my opponent's able to go for the Dragon Dance. Obviously, Aurora Veil really helped there. If they didn't have Aurora Veil, I would have won right there. But of course, they do have Aurora Veil, so that's great for my opponent. And at this point, I kind of sped this part up. I don't know if you can really tell, because this is a really crazy sequence. These are our last two Pokemon. My opponent Salamence is faster than my Tapu Koko now, so they're just going to go for Roost. And unfortunately, because of Roost removing the flying type, my electric type attacks are not very effective against them, rather than just being neutral. If they had been neutral, I would have killed this thing very easily, but because they're able to go for Roost and because they're faster than I am, Thunderbolt is not doing quite as much as it could do. Now, you'll notice here though that Thunderbolt is actually doing a decent amount. It does about half there, which is actually pretty crazy given that it's a resist. That just shows how powerful Specs Tapu Koko is. And here my opponent sets up a substitute, revealing that they have Substitute, they have Roost, they have Dragon Dance, and that's just bad for me. I mean, they're able to just keep kind of playing around my moves, because of course now at this point they figure that I'm locked into Thunderbolt. They know that I'm locked into Thunderbolt. This turn here, the electricity disappears, which of course means that my Thunderbolts are not going to be doing as much damage anymore, which is just even worse. And I mean, I felt like I was in an okay position here because I'm doing a lot of damage to this Salamence, but of course they're faster than I am. Because I know they have Return with these three other moves, I know that they don't have a way to hit me for super effective damage. So I have my PP, my power points on Thunderbolt are maxed out at 24. So I have 24 Thunderbolts to spare here, and I'm just going for it. I'm just clicking Thunderbolt after Thunderbolt. That's all I can do. That's really all I can do. And it's going to come down to whoever kind of... At this point, there's not a lot of prediction involved. I guess my opponent could have executed their lines of play a little better. For me, on the other hand, I just spam Thunderbolt because I'm locked into it. There's literally nothing else I can do. And I'm not going to give up because it looks like I could have a chance. And every time I clicked Thunderbolt, I was crossing my fingers for a paralysis. There's a very low chance that Thunderbolt can paralyze. All I needed was a paralysis, more than a crit, because a critical hit would not have killed them at like full health. I just needed a paralyze. That's all I needed. And so I felt like there was a good chance that I would get it at some point, right? And as you can notice, it's not happening. It's just not happening. My opponent here finally decides to go for the return. You will notice that it's actually going to do more than half, which means 2 returns will easily kill me. This is it. This is the final moment for me. And I get the paralysis. Very luckily. This was lucky for me. Clearly lucky. I cannot deny that. That's going to win me the game here because my opponent is slower than I am, so they can't go for Roost. And now this Thunderbolt is going to deal neutral damage to them. I'm going to outspeed. That's going to be an easy kill. Very, very good fight. I had a lot of fun with this one. And it was extremely close, just like the previous one, and just like the next ones that I'm going to be uploading very soon. So let me know if you'd like to see more battles like this, or if you'd prefer for me to go back to the live narrations. I like those as well. These are both a lot of fun. With the live narrations, though, it's not going to be the quality like this. It's just going to be pretty standard. And with the post narrations like this one, you get to see some scenery and some kind of nice graphics and whatnot. So hope you enjoyed this fight. Let me know what you think of Choice Specs Tapu Koko, or what's your most interesting Pokemon moveset. This Choice Specs Tapu Koko has been putting in so much work for me. It hits so hard. I really like Tapu Koko. I hope you have a great day. Subscribe and like for more. Like and subscribe for more. I said that wrong.